Well, hi, hello, and how are you? Today we are going to talk about chemicals, relaxers, lightener, hair color, all of the things. If you want the inside scoop, then let's go ahead, dive into my computer, and let's look at AI.
Hey, I'm Sin's AI assistant. I run the AI magic. Disclaimer, if you're sensitive, log off now.
I am back! What it do, baby?
So, let's talk about the double standard in black hair. There's a whole lot of judgment floating around the natural space, especially when it comes to black women who choose to relax or flat iron their hair. But here's the twist, the same women rocking bleach, blonde curls, highlights, copper tone coils, and protective styles with synthetic hair often are the ones doing the loudest judging. But guess what? Color can be just as damaging, if not more, than relaxers if you're doing it wrong and if you're not protecting the scalp properly. You're just not risking breakage, you're risking chemical burns, permanent follicle damage, and even scalp disorders. These are facts, all right? So let's get into it. Hair color isn't innocent, it's just a chemical service, just like relaxers are. And I want us to really get into this, and we'll talk a little bit more about other things later. But most of the women that you see shaming other women who get relaxers have color in their hair. So let's break down why you're being a hypocrite and you need to stop. All right. Number one, hair color lifts the cuticle with ammonia and other different additives. In order to lighten or change hair's color permanently, hair color must open the hair shaft. This exposes the scalp to high pH chemicals, just like relaxers do. Number two, lightener. It contains a lot of different types of sulfates, and these are strong oxidizing agents that break down the melanin inside of your hair shaft. So if that touches your scalp directly, especially without protection, that can cause scalp irritation, chemical burns, and open sores the same exact way that relaxers can. It's the same thing, right? Also, hydrogen peroxide equals oxidative stress on the scalp. Hydrogen peroxide is the developer in most color systems. It breaks down protein bonds to allow the color to set, but it also damages skin cells if not rinsed or neutralized properly. So, the real consequences of poor color application. If color, especially lightener, is applied without proper scalp protection or by untrained hands, you put yourself at risk for a lot of things like chemical burns, inflammation of the hair follicle like folliculitis, scalp infections, scarring, alopecia, contact dermatitis, thinning, and permanent hair loss. And the gag is, most don't even base the scalp before color services like they would with relaxers, so the risks are equal or even higher in most cases. Relaxers versus color is something that we need to talk about because there's a better understanding. It is education and protection. A relaxer, when applied correctly with scalp protection, proper timing, and post care, can be safe and effective. A color surface, when misapplied or overused, can do irreversible damage just like a bad relaxer can. But in the natural hair community, we've been conditioned to think of color as fun and trendy and safe, while viewing relaxers as dangerous, self-hating, and outdated. The mindset is rooted in respectability politics, not science. All right. And this is something we need to think about because it's time for us to stop policing black hair choices. Whether you relax your roots every 6 weeks, wear a silk press once a month, rock box braids with synthetic hair that's safe and clinically tested and all of the things, or if you do a full bleach blonde girl, a 613, none of these things and none of these choices make you less black or less natural. What really matters is your hair and scalp care. That's all that matters. The protection, the professionally cared for practices that you're going to follow as it pertains to hair color, and free from chronic damage. So, what is the real message? You're supposed to be educating yourself on the chemistry of hair services. Use professional grade products like bases and cream barrier shields, and time things correctly. And lastly, but of course not least, stop shaming people for their hair texture or their style preferences, because at the end of the day, the most natural thing you can do is make an informed decision about your own scalp care and sanity. And that's just the truth of it all, because in this video, what you're watching is somebody get double processed hair color. So she already had her hair lightened in the previous video. She is a photographer and has an artistic mind, so we did a color that was northern lights is what we called it, and it was more like of darker hues, so I had to lift that color. The first process that you saw was a color extraction, where I used a certain chemical process to extract the chemicals, well, not the chemicals, the color that we had put in her hair the last time. It was pigment only, so I put that first product on to extract that pigment. Why did I do that? Because whenever you color hair, what you are doing is removing melanin, right? And I'm going to break down the difference between the color and the relaxer. Even though you already heard me saying it, I'm going to give it to you in a different way, right? So with her relaxer, with this color, remember, you have a cuticle, then the cortex, and then the medulla, right? And your cortex, the cortex of your hair shaft, is where your bonds and your melanin live. So with both relaxers and hair color, I'm opening your cuticle layer, right? Opening the cuticle layer so I can get into the cortex. With this hair color and the naturals that have blonde hair, you're opening the same cuticle and getting into the same cortex, but instead of moving and fooling around with your bonds like I would with the relaxer, I ignore your bonds, right? I protect your bonds. I shouldn't say I ignore them. I protect your bonds with certain products like Olaplex that I put into the formulation, right? So that's what I'm using Olaplex for. I'm using Olaplex because I'm opening your cuticle, going into the cortex where the melanin and the bonds are. Again, I'm not dealing with the bonds. All I'm doing is protecting them with the Olaplex. And then I'm going into the other side of the cortex, and I'm going to begin dissolving your melanin. So you know, the melanin that we love, that we champion, it's amazing, but when you get hair color, you're dissolving your melanin, right? So if we are talking about what's less black, if that's the umbrella that we're going to look at it under, what's less black, coloring your hair would be closer to not being proud of having melanin than actually getting a relaxer would, because the melanin is what makes us black, right? Is what makes our skin dark, and the melanin is what makes your hair dark. So when I open the cuticle layer, I am dissolving your melanin, and then I'm adding an artificial color. Okay, and then once I add the artificial color, the first thing that I did, of course, with the blonde, was removing it, and then now I'm going in, and the first thing we're doing is putting in the shadow root. So you probably couldn't see her phone, but there are multiple pictures that she is showing me. So the color that I am doing and what I'm creating, we both agreed on. Like, this is something that we both talked about, right? We are going for like cotton candy. We're going from like a deep purpley, like blue shadow root, and then down to different silvers and pinks and purples. It's like a whole thing, right? But this is something that took quite a bit. But again, as it pertains to hair color, as I'm coloring her hair, her melanin, the same melanin that makes your skin, obviously the melanin comes in slightly different forms from your skin to your hair, right? But the same type of melanin that is in your skin is what determines what color your hair is, right? So I've completely dissolved her melanin. There are slight touches and slight hues in it, but what you're seeing right now is completely dissolved. And then as her hair grows back, right? As she gets new growth, that's brand new hair with brand new melanin. Well, guess what? When you see somebody who has damaged hair after color, the reason that their hair is damaged after color, the reason that the curl pattern changes after too much hair color or after the hair color is done wrong is because the melanin and the disulfide bonds that determine how curly your hair is, they live in the same cortex. All right. So even though they're being protected by the Olaplex, some of them get moved around. Not displaced, not damaged, but moved around. The hair is being restructured whenever you're using hair color. But this is why professionals use products like Olaplex or K18 or 19. I always get that part wrong. But that's why professional cosmetologists use different products like that to protect the bonds because they're right next to the cortex. That's why we use it in the first place, right? So again, if you are a person who is natural, team natural, and relaxers are bad and flat irons are bad, I love you, but you are one of the biggest hypocrites walking around because it's more damaging to color your hair than it is to relax it. Because this is the thing, when you go get when you go get hair color, you don't base the scalp. We don't base the scalp before you get hair color, but hair color can have some of the same reactions as anything else. But this is why most professionals, if they've never met you before, they always book a consultation. You have to get a color consultation before you can get your hair done, and this is because the professional wants to see your scalp, address it, assess it, see if there are any cuts, bruises, abrasions, anything, because if there are, you cannot get your hair colored that day. Or if you have any type of scalp or follicle infection, you won't be able to get hair color because we're not really basing the scalp. And most of the time, the reason that you don't base the scalp is because you're changing the pigment, and a lot of times oils, greases, butters, it ends up diluting the color, so the color, it won't be like even from root to end. Sometimes it gives you hot roots, or sometimes it doesn't process enough. So that's one of the main reasons why it isn't normally based. But if you pay attention, most hairstylists aren't just lather. It looks like it, right, when things are moving really fast, but we're not putting the hair color directly on the scalp, because once you place the hair color down, it's gonna swell, right? Your hair is naturally gonna swell, so the color is going to like reach the roots itself, so you never really need to put it there. That's why, to avoid hot roots, like let's say you're taking somebody from a level 1, which is black, to a level 10, which would be like platinum blonde, you're gonna do that in baby steps, and you definitely don't start at the roots. You start on the ends and you like work your way up, right? Well, depending on what type of color process you're doing, ignore that. Don't start doing that because there's so many different color processes. So don't be like, sensei, start at your ends. No, leave, Lord. Oh my God. So anyway, at this point now, you don't really see what's happening off screen, but I have like 3 towels on the side, and in between every color I have to wipe my hands off because I'm alternating between 3 different colors. This was a while back, so I'm not gonna sit here and play with you and act like I remember what this color formulation was, because I don't. But I do know that we had a whole lot of fun this day, and it took a long while, right? But let's hop into relaxers. The next video is going to be all about relaxers, right? But I want to draw this parallel for you, like if your butt's in a bunch and it's all tight and you're upset. So when it comes to relaxers, so we went over the cortex and the melanin and hair color and all of that stuff, let me know in the comments if it makes sense. Say it makes sense, girl, or it makes sense, I get it. Something, tell me something in the comments, right? And I don't care how many comments you have to leave. Imagine I'm live right now. I need to hear from you. So when we're talking about relaxers, when you get a relaxer, if it's done properly, the scalp is based. Most of the time when you see scalps get based in the hair salon, it's either not recorded because it's not interesting and y'all wouldn't want to see that part. And most cosmetologists, if they have an assistant, that's the part that their assistant does. One person that is really good to watch, if you go look on the Master Stylist channel and you try to find some of the videos where you can see her assistant basing her client's scalp before she adds the relaxer, or even if you just go watch the Master Stylist one of her videos and pay attention and look at her client's scalp, you're gonna see like their scalp is based, right? So there's a protective layer over the scalp that is protecting it, that cannot be penetrated, right? But this is also why when you are adding a relaxer, you have to move like at a certain point, because that protective barrier is only going to last for so long. So you know, these videos online where you see women are doing their own relaxers at home and then they go fold clothes and do laundry, that's why y'all have scalp infections, because you're not supposed to do that. And most black women that do their own relaxers at home, they think that you're supposed to keep the relaxer in their hair until their hair is bone straight, and you're not. In the hair salon, I learned that you're not supposed to relax to 100%. You're only supposed to relax until about 70 to 75%, right? So that's something that everybody also needs to take into consideration. But again, we're going back into the cortex layer. Remember, the cuticle layer, that's where I'll talk about high porosity, low porosity, whether or not you can have protein on your hair, all of that. That's the cuticle layer. We're not talking about the cuticle layer. We're talking about the cortex. So next to your melanin is the bonds, right? The bonds that keep your hair shaft together. Your salt bonds, which are really controlled or broken by highly acidic products. So women who have been in Team Natural for years and you haven't put any heat on your hair, but your curls are changing, your hair is shedding, it's breaking for no reason. If you're somebody who use apple cider vinegar in your hair, if you use homemade products, I'm telling you something, you may not be breaking the disulfide bond, right, with chemicals. Let's say you don't use no chemicals and you don't use any heat. Okay, you're not breaking the disulfide bond, but your salt bond is being shattered, because apple cider vinegar, I don't care how much water you put in it, apple cider vinegar is pure acid. And if water stopped the process of the what do you call that stuff, apple cider vinegar, deteriorating your hair, then it wouldn't work you filling up your toilet with apple cider vinegar so it can unclog your toilet. Some people use baking soda too. I don't use baking soda to unclog it. I fill my toilet or my sink up with apple cider vinegar and it breaks it through. And what is it normally clogged with? Hairs and fibers. Yeah. So over time, your hair shaft and all of the things are beginning to break down. These are things that you have to think about, right? So when we're talking about a relaxer, you're going inside, because there are two things that determine your hair, how curly your hair is. It's the size of the follicle. That's the part that's genetic, right? Because the size of your follicle is going to be determined by your race. So if you are, if you black like me, right, then your follicle will be like tighter, right? It's like tighter, more flat. But then if you are more so on the Caucasian side, then it'll be like oval shaped. And then if you're all the way like on the Asian side, not all the way, but if you're on the Asian side, then your follicle is going to be completely round, right? So those are the different things, and it's not that one's better than the other. Scientists, as they observe different hair follicles, these are the sizes of our follicles, right? And it's determined that most of the time when you have a follicle that looks a certain way, the hair comes out specific ways. But then the second thing is going to be the bonds. Once the hair protrudes out of the pore, and it curls up, we can change the curl formation by moving around the bond. And this goes for black hair, and this goes for curly hair, wavy hair, straight hair, everybody, right? When you get a relaxer, you're relaxing the curl. When you get a perm, you're giving yourself a new permanent wave, right? That's what it stands for. So you would get a relaxer to take the curls away, but let's say your hair is too straight, then you get a perm where they put perm rods in your hair and use the setting solution to give you another set, right? That is where the original Jerry curl came from, and the original wave nouveau came from, that Gina curl ended up copying and modern day and changing the name, and now all of you guys think she made it up, but originally that's where it came from, right? The Jerry curl or the wave nouveau is a relaxer and a perm put together. You first give somebody with naturally curly hair, they don't like that specific curl pattern that they have, so you give them a relaxer and you take that curl away, you neutralize it, and then you put new rollers in it, a perm rod in it, and the perm rod that you put in is going to be dependent on the new curl pattern that your client wants, right? So if it's a really, really tight curl, let's say you decide to put blue perm rods in, or maybe they want a little looser one, so you may put in those thicker purple perm rods in, right? And then you put that new solution on there, and then it sets it in that new wave. So there's a new permanent wave until it grows out from the root, and at the root, your original curl pattern, your original curl is going to be there. It's the same thing with the relaxer. The relaxer just takes out some of those bonds, because the more disulfide bonds you have, right, the more sulfur to sulfur linkages you have within the cortex, the curlier your hair is. So if I want to relax it, I'm going to take away certain bonds, right? I'm going to take away a certain amount of bond, and then I'm going to neutralize it. So then your hair is still healthy. Neutralizing it is another way to say locking it in and making sure everything's healthy. Then you would get a conditioning treatment depending on your porosity, right? But either way, this is a chemical process that is using a system addition that is going to first open the cuticle to get inside of the cortex. With hair color, you're dissolving melanin, and with relaxer, I'm dissolving bonds. So you tell me, what's the difference? And why is one group of women able to judge another group when you're doing the same exact thing? You're both opening the cuticle with the chemical. You're both changing the formation of the cortex, and then neutralizing, and then setting it in a new style. So you can't judge anybody. You can't. If you have color treated hair in any type of way and you are online like, don't flat iron your hair, girl, go delete the video, just delete it. We don't have to remember it. I'm not gonna add it. This one, I decided I'm not gonna add the examples of the people, because I really don't think y'all understand in any way, shape, or form the type of things that you say, right? Because when color goes wrong, it's because after this process was done, after I get done opening the cuticle, pulling out melanin, depositing new color, then remember, I'm only pulling out melanin if I'm lightening your hair. If I'm not lightening your hair, then what I'm doing is going in and I'm just depositing color, right? So when you hear like a rinse, or not a rinse, but a demi-permanent or a semi-permanent, what we're doing is just depositing color on top of the hair shaft. Sometimes, depending on the demi, semi, or permanent, that's what's going to determine how close I get to the cortex. Permanent hair color, I open the cuticle and I deposit the new pigment in the cortex. That's what it is. When it comes to darker colors, you don't have to lift it first because it's deposit only. But if you're going lighter, there's already melanin there. So I have to dissolve the melanin and then I can deposit this new color on top of it. So again, I just need everybody to become more educated on the science of hair. I want you to start paying attention to the people who call themselves professionals but then tell people that they're bad if they get relaxers. It's the same thing. And if you disagree with me, let me know in the comments, because the things that you demonize relaxers for, the disorders, the diseases, and all of the things that it can cause, hair color can do the same thing if it's not done properly. It can do the same thing. There are a lot of people who will remain nameless, but they're like, oh, I have alopecia and I'm going bald from this and I'm going bald from that. And the whole time they're talking about alopecia, their hair is bleach blonde or it's platinum blonde. It's like, yo, that could have a little bit to do with it too. It could have a little bit to do with it too. But for whatever reason, black women, you guys with the Team Natural community, you look at certain things and you be like, that one, we gonna pick that one. That one's the bad one. That's the evil one. And then everybody circles around that. And most of you, if you don't fit into that category and you are one of the women that people are always talking about, you don't know this. So you don't even know what to say to defend yourself. But this is what you can say. And this goes for both sides. This all needs to be a dead conversation. We need to stop. Because for the longest time, black women have let anger, personal issues, unhealed baggage, and all of these things determine how the hair industry moves. And in reality, that's why everybody's messed up. That's why nobody can figure anything out, right? And this video is so many years old. I apologize. This video is doing this color no justice. It came out so good, like so freaking good. But anyway, these are the things that I want y'all to know. And the thing is this: whenever I'm online and I'm saying like, oh, this with Team Natural, this with Team, I don't have a problem if y'all want to do certain things, but the things that y'all do have to make sense. None of the things that y'all do make sense. All of y'all favorite hacks and things are things that down the line I end up coming back and fixing. Just like now, there's this, I don't know if it's new or not, but it's a video that I'm going to be filming in a couple of days, and it's about people using Ethiopian butter as a conditioner. And it's just, I just don't know. And we're gonna break that down scientifically, but I really want everybody to like really get out of their feelings when it comes to things and just start looking at things scientifically, because black women have been grifted to so much. There's been so much grifting in the black community when it comes to black women and their hair that nobody can think logically, nobody can think clearly, and everybody has bits and pieces of information. So again, this is not a rhetorical question. How can you in one breath tell a black woman that she should be ashamed of herself for straightening her hair or for blow drying her hair or for combing it for that matter, and you have blonde locks in your hair? You've dissolved your melanin. You've dissolved your blackness. That's what you would say, right? You've dissolved your melanin. That's literally what you do when you color your hair. So how is it okay for you to dissolve your melanin, but it's not okay for her to dissolve a couple of her bonds? And then peep game. When I was behind the chair, every last woman that came in to get hair color, it was for a vanity metric. Nobody's getting their hair colored because it makes it easier for they to deal with their hair. Everybody gets their hair colored through a vanity metric. But I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and sometimes it's over 100 degrees. Most black women who had a relaxer, they were getting relaxers because it made it easier for them to do their hair. They weren't getting relaxed 100%. It had nothing to do with looking less black. It made it easier for them to deal with their hair on a day-to-day basis. Some of them, yeah, just preferred the way that it looked, and maybe it was for a vanity metric, but that was maybe about 20%. But 100% of people that get hair color, whether you relaxed or natural, you're getting it for a vanity measure. Both people are dissolving things that belong in the body. but one person is doing it for a vanity metric, and the other person has multiple different reasons that they're doing it, like tangible reasons. It makes life easier. But the person who is doing it for a vanity metric is the one that's judging. That's crazy. You dissolve melanin for vanity metrics, right? And then with your dissolved melanin, you're pointing at other black women who decided to I'm just flat ironing my hair. When I shampoo it, my curls gonna pop right back. I haven't even dissolved any of my bonds. I'm multiplying them because I'm using products like Olaplex or K18 or K19. I'm gonna have it together by the next time I bring it up. I'm using products like those. So I'm protecting my bonds and I'm multiplying my bonds, but you're dissolving your melanin. How is what I'm doing worse than what you're doing? When I go wash my hair is gonna be curly again. But no matter how much you wash your hair, that melanin you dissolve will never come back in that hair strand. And any melanin you put back in that hair strand is going to be artificial until you get the same type of new growth that I'm gonna get. So again, I need you to think about that, y'all. We have to think about the things that we do, the things that we say, the things that we arguing about, the things we giving our attention to, the people we give our attention to. And I just challenge you to I don't ever want y'all to go on nobody trying to be like, you stupid, you don't even know what you're talking about. Do not do that, because I don't want none of that stuff coming back on me. Don't do that. But you can go ask the question like, what's the difference between you coloring your hair and me getting a relaxer? Both of y'all are opening the cuticle layer and dissolving things that are in the cortex. What's the difference? Because if hair color is worse, then what you're saying is, oh, God cares more. God gave you both melanin and disulfide bonds, right? So God made your hair curlier than everybody else's, and God made your hair dark. So basically, y'all trying to say God don't care nothing. God, we gonna go to hell. We not gonna be able to talk to God as much if we get a relaxer or we get a flat iron. That's the type of stuff that y'all say. We're not going to be able to talk to the Lord, right? Our connection is going to be cut off if we get a relaxer or if we straighten our hair. But God gave us bonds the same way God gave us melanin. So God okay with us dissolving our bonds? He not okay with that? We're going to go to hell for that, but we not going to get in trouble for dissolving our melanin? I wonder why. I need you to make that make sense. Explain that to me in a comment. Why is God gave us both melanin and disulfide bonds? Why is God more upset with me as a black woman for dissolving my disulfide bonds than God is for me dissolving my melanin? Explain that to me real quick. It's not a rhetorical question. I'm not being a smart ass. As a scientist, I love new information. Girl, boy, teach me something that I don't know. I really don't think anybody's gonna be able to answer that question for me though. But I really hope that I can get an answer. Don't leave yet. I just want you to like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. But a brand new one is about to come. So this is one of my clients. I did her hair color in this situation. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't remember when it was that I had did it. I just know that I did. And in this video, we are, as you can see, about to blow dry her hair, round brush it. Now, this video, it doesn't look like it's sped up that much, but it is. But in the past, when people would see videos like this, they would be like, oh my God, you're moving her. No, I'm not. Pay attention to how I'm combing with one hand and then I'm holding her hair with the palm of my hand in the other hand. So all of the tension is going to my hand and not her hair. Keep in mind, this is after the shampoo, right? So her hair was already detangled before her hair was shampooed. I'm just combing the leave-in conditioner through her hair. That's all that's happening right now, because the quickest way to get breakage is to try to blow dry tangled hair. You don't detangle your hair with the blow dryer. There was a video in the past that I've reposted that video twice already, but I think I will go into it one more time just to give y'all a different perspective, because there is a certain technique that I was taught on how to detangle extremely matted and tangled hair. Because when it comes, well, no, I was about to break it down right now. I will go into that in another video if y'all want to. Give me a 5 in the comments. I'll be like, yeah, girl, break it down, girl, if you want me to, and I will. But detangling her hair, as you can see, there are not globs and globs of hair in my comb. Like, feel free to pause the video. YouTube has this feature where you can zoom in on the camera. So zoom in. Are there small, minute pieces of shed hair in it? Yes, of course there is. But like the globs and globs of hair, absolutely not. I'm not yanking or pulling her hair out. We're having a conversation and all of the things, right? I think social media has made you guys believe like, oh, you gotta have slip and slip. Your hair does not need. What do you think you on, the slip inside? Huh? Where do you think you at? Cedar Point, Six Flags? No. Where do you think you at? Big Back Mountain? No. You do not need no slip. All you need is to comb your hair. And the thing of the matter is, if we are making sure that our patterns and our routines are all put in place to make it so our hair never gets matted and tangled, you won't worry about stuff like that, right? But this is one of the most important parts of a hair service, right? The most important part. And of course, in the videos, like, it'll take you a long time to edit. So this isn't necessarily a part that everybody is going to add, right? This isn't a part of the video that everyone is going to add, but I need you to pay attention to how in my video, and almost every professional, like real life professional, not ones that just started doing hair like 2-3 years ago, but like people who've been doing hair for decades, we all put hair in the same 4 to 6 sections to start off. Like, we all start the same. We all start in the back of the head for the most part. Like, everything's the same. Even when you look at round brushes and stuff, if you go look at any round brushing video, for the most part, regardless of race, regardless of texture, the hair is round brushed the same way, even on all of my videos. So these are the things that I want you to think about. When it comes to the cuticle, I had somebody like, oh, they were scared to use a blow dryer because they don't want to fry the cuticle or and things of that nature. So that's why they use the Revere Air. It makes no sense. Revere Air blow dryer is literally called reverse air blow dryer. The Revere Air blow dryer, it goes and takes your hair in the opposite way of the way that your cuticle lays. And as a professional cosmetologist, you are taught to go down with the cuticle. The cuticle is going downward. That's how I'm blow drying the hair. I'm holding my focuser going in a downward motion, and I'm going in a downward motion in the way of the cuticle as I dry it. The Revere Air blow dryer is literally called reverse drying. They're reversing it and taking it in reverse. Now, yeah, it's been out for a long time, but just like I tell you all about everything else, hair weather, it takes anywhere between 6 months to 25 years to show up. And watch the level of scalp infections, hair shaft disorders that pops up. I'm gonna give it about 6-7 years. I have not been wrong yet. But I digress. When you're blow drying hair, you are focused on smoothing the cuticle. You always have to ask yourself why, right? The first question, why? Why am I blow drying the hair? What am I accomplishing? And it's like, oh, I'm closing the cuticle, not shutting it, not sealing it, but I'm just closing it a little bit. Like, if your door is closed in your room, the door is closed, but it's not locked. It can still be opened whenever it needs to. Same thing. Okay? You're just closing it. Or I shouldn't even say closed, you're just laying it flat. Right? But if you laying flat, you can roll over real quick and take a couple seconds. If a temperature change, it can open up real quick. That's it. But you're not sealing the cuticle with anything. You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to be locking the cuticle down. So the lock method, anything that goes against the natural the natural mechanics of your cuticle or the different layers of your hair shaft, you shouldn't do, right? So when we're talking about opening the cuticle and laying the cuticle flat, I'm like, okay, I'm going to use a leave-in conditioner because this is a formulation made by a chemist, and the chemist heard from the cosmetologist or the scientist, okay, what do you need it to do? Okay, I need something that's gonna lay the cuticle flat and do XYZ. The chemist is like, oh, okay, I know the perfect thing for that. Just because the chemist knew how to help me do a certain thing does not mean that the chemist knows anything about hair care. It does not mean that the chemist knows everything that a cosmetologist or a dermatologist knows. No, a cosmetic chemist, or not a cosmetic chemist, but a chemist is the one who's going to make different drugs for doctors and things of that nature, right? That's a certain form of chemistry, or certain forms of chemistry are put into that, right? So whenever you think about it, just because they make a drug for the doctor doesn't mean that they can now treat the doctor's patient. You don't become an expert in brain scans and brain surgery because you give medication to aid the doctor during his surgery. So why do you guys think that just because somebody is a cosmetic chemist and they make hair care products, that they somehow know more than cosmetologists, trichologists, or dermatologists? These are questions that you need to ask yourself. I'm not talking about anybody specific. There are multiple chemists that are online that try to do dermatologists, cosmetologists, and trichologists' job. There are a whole bunch of them. Okay? So I'm not talking about one specific person. So that's just that on that. So these are things that I really need you to understand, because that's what a leave-in conditioner is. But I remember there was a long period of time where Team Natural told you not to use leave-in conditioners because leave-in conditioners were bad. So black women stopped using leave-in conditioners, and now in the state that everybody's hair is in, you can see why leave-in conditioners were so important. And the thing is, when it comes to hair products, when it comes to cosmetology, trichology, dermatology, this is a holistic practice. We all need each other. So if you find anybody in that holistic realm that is like, oh no, don't listen to them, you should listen to them. Because how does a cosmetic chemist do their job without a cosmetologist or a trichologist or a dermatologist? Like, you're just really throwing paint at the wall hoping something sticks, to be honest, and that's just that on that. So anywho, as you keep going, right, as you keep blow drying and as you practice, that's why I tell everybody, like, get a mannequin so that way you can practice on your own, because the more you practice, the more confident you become. Because of course, I remember the first time I saw somebody round brush, I said to my instructor, I was like, that is not for black women. And he was like, girl, sit down. And he was irritated with me. Why? Because he had heard that multiple times. He was like, stop saying that. He was like, stop just making excuses for yourself, or stop just discounting black women. Like, black women are just so incapable of doing everything. He was like, do you understand y'all hair is the strongest? And I said, I thought it was the weakest. He said, no, it's not. He was like, you just have more to lose. And I was like, I don't understand. And he said, well, do you know why your hair is curly? I was like, why? He was like, the amount of sulfur, the sulfur linkages. He said, the more disulfide bonds you have within the cortex of your hair shaft, the curlier your hair is. He said, so as a black woman, you're not lacking anything. You have more. He said, you have more than me, Cynthia. You're not lacking anything. You have more. So because you have more, you have to protect it. It has to be guarded. He's like, okay, if you don't want to lose what you have, he said, I don't have to use as much protection because I don't have as much as you do. I don't have as much to lose as you do. So I don't have to go that heavy on my protection. I'm still using it, but I'm not. But you have to make sure you don't skip this part, because you have way more to lose. You having way more to lose doesn't mean that you're weaker. It means that you have to be more strategic. It means you can't just walk outside and go on a whim. It means you have to have a plan. That's why certain groups of women can wash and go and it's not a big deal. Why? Because they don't have as many bonds as you have. So by the end of the day, once their hair dries, they'll still be able to run a comb through it, but you won't, because you have more sulfur to sulfur linkages. So there has to be different processes. And this is the thing, even though their hair may not be tangled the way yours is, any fiber that's left without a pattern or routine is going to tangle. So I really hope that this video made sense. In our next video, we are going to break down relaxers a little more, and I'm going to, even though I already explained it quite a bit, I'm going to go a little deeper into it. So if you have any comments or questions, leave it in the comments of this video. And then, girl, you know I'm good for putting a comment up on the screen. So just let me know if you have any questions or anything that you want me to address specifically about relaxers, and I will. It is early in the morning, so if there are any mistakes, girl, they're gonna be there. So I hope that everybody is okay, and just really know that I'm not in this video saying, oh, everybody go get relaxers and stop getting color. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is you need to get off your high horse. If you're on a high horse, if the shoe don't fit, don't wear it, girl. I ain't talking to you. But if you're on your high horse and you're judging people, if you are a black woman telling other black people that they don't love themselves because they straightening their hair or getting a relaxer, be quiet, because you sound crazy. I'm talking about delusional, okay? Because it's the same exact part of the hair shaft. And if we stop demonizing each other, if we stop shaming each other, everything will be okay. It's nothing wrong with you having your specialty, but for you to have a specialty, you don't have to knock down somebody else's specialty, okay? There's nothing wrong with getting a relaxer. There's nothing wrong with getting any chemical services as long as they're done properly. And manipulating your hair color is just as changing just stuff. You changing stuff for the creator just as much as you are if you relax your hair. So that all of it needs to stop. And of course, I'm really excited to talk to everybody in the comments.
Make sure you check the links in the description box below, because I have a full playlist on relaxers. Go watch those along with the lectures and everything else that I have to say. So I really hope that that video answered your questions, and I hope that it helped you make some decisions on relaxers if it's something that you've been thinking about, right? Why not do it? Go ahead, get your relaxer, girl, if that's something that you want to do. But think about it critically. Know the pros and the cons, so you can know, so you'll know and you'll be able to make this decision, right? How would you do that? You have to make sure that the things that come with a relaxer you're able to do and you're able to upkeep. And if you can, girl, do it, girl, do it. Stop playing with yourself, okay? I mean, you don't gotta do that. You can do what you want to do. Okay.